My name is Bishop Isaac Mudenda. I serve in the Methodist Church in Zimbabwe in Wangeri district, which entails Bulawayo and the whole of Martin North, which is quite diverse. I'm a father of two, one boy, one girl. Well, married to one wife, of course, as a Christian. Yes, the pandemic has really ravaged us as a church in a big way. For instance, in my constituents where I am serving, Martin North and Bulawayo, because I cover from Bulawayo up to Victoria Falls, people have been laid off their jobs, particularly in Victoria Falls, who are solely dependent on tourism. Now that there's lockdown, tourists are not coming and all hotels are closed down, so they are out of employment. Now that has affected directly the church, including the ministers who were dependent on the members who were giving them a source of income from their work of employment. Now that they're no longer working, it's now a challenge. Not only the church, even the families themselves are really facing a serious challenge because they can't make a living anymore, which they were doing before the pandemic and the lockdown, and the tourists were no longer coming in because of this challenge that we're facing. Really, it is a serious challenge. Apart from these families, you've extended families in the rural areas who were dependent on these families that were working or were getting a sort of employment. Now that they're no longer working, which means everyone is affected. Even the gogos at home are affected because they're no longer getting the little that they were getting from their children. Let alone here in Matabeleland, we have most of our children work in the neighboring countries like Botswana and South Africa. Now that the borders are closed, they are no longer sending in those few goodies that they were sending to their parents and families. So that's a serious challenge that has affected the church in a bigger way. So indeed, the pandemic has really ravaged us. It has really destroyed us. The fabric of the families have been destroyed because of the challenges that we're facing. This lockdown disturbed a lot of, brought a lot of challenges to the families because when let's say maybe it was the father was used to going to work. Now that he's no longer going to work, you'll be together at home. You will start realizing small things that will be happening as you argue. Already abuses, violence will erupt because of being together every day from morning up to sunset, the following day, just like that. So that was it brought a lot of abuses in the families, even the children as well. There were a lot of administrators there because they were no longer doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now the children were no longer going to school. They are all spending all their time at work. The mother is at home, the father is at home, the children are at home, everyone is at home. No one, there's no fight, there's nothing, there's no activity that is happening which would bring some source of income in the family. That alone has brought serious challenges.
So, would you say, in terms of when you mention being locked down, the families being locked down, the violences, etc., would you say that is there a need for psychosocial support for the pastors, for the families, so that this caregiving process can be extended?
Oh yes, sure. There is really serious need for, because already this alone is just a serious challenge. Because when you, as a pastor, you be thinking of how do I fend for these people? Because in the past, when everyone is at work, they will only be looking at the vulnerable families only. Now everyone is vulnerable. Already it's a challenge to the church. Where do I start from? Because those who are supposed to support the church are also vulnerable. So already it's a challenge. Where do you start from? Apart from that alone, it's a serious challenge. Then coming to this domestic violence and so forth, which has come to a rampage. It's a serious challenge. Where as a pastor, you don't know where to start from. Yes, you preach the word of God, you preach peace, you preach love, but because these people are always together and they were used to be doing something which would occupy them. They are no longer occupied. That alone, it brings a challenge. So on day-to-day basis, as a pastor, you have a serious challenge. That needs you to be equipped as well. You also need to be helped as a pastor because you are in a serious quandrum because of the challenge that is there.
Lastly, and very, very briefly, would you see peace-building skills being provided for the pastors? Do you think that they would add some value to what the church is doing, other than the material food and material needs of the pastors? What would you say about that? Peace-building skills, psychosocial support training, would that be a useful contribution to the pastors in addition to food materials, etc., etc.?
Indeed, Reverend. I think that would be very much paramount. I think we need that. They really need that because, particularly in the scenario in which we are in, we need such skills so that we will be able to help the communities in which we are serving in. We need to be equipped in the skills and how we can look at the psychosocial support. How do we do it? How do we deal with the children in such a scenario? How do we deal with the elderly in such a scenario? We really need that. We need to be equipped. Once we're equipped, we'll be able to impart our work very well.
Thank you.
I'm Reverend Levi Moyo. Currently, I'm the president of the Apostolic Church in Zimbabwe. We are in many countries around the world, but I'm here in Zimbabwe for the term of 5 years, leading our church.
Yes, now that we are in this situation of COVID-19, can you tell us what its impact has been on the church, particularly with reference to the pastors? How has the situation been, or how is the situation?
Firstly, I'll say it came as a shock because when the COVID-19 came in, nobody thought it will be taken so serious that the churches will close down. And so it came when we were not prepared. And the closure of churches came when we were not prepared. So churches, they survive on offerings, and so people were not coming to church. Pastors are really starving. In my experience, within 2 months, I've taken 2 pastors who were sick to hospital, and I was told that they lack food. And one has gone to a mental health hospital. So it's not nice out there. So pastors are really suffering. And so that's our situation within the townships. Not only talking of my church, but many churches are really in a very poor state.
What is it that you yourselves or others are doing? Do you think, is there anything, any intervention that you
Yes,
are providing?
certainly we do, especially within my church. What we've done, as you mentioned, the water situation, we just decided to buy a bowser of water, an 800 liter, and we distribute water. Sometimes we do about 2,400 liters a day, giving to the poor old ladies and widows and those who are sick, who cannot go to the communal boreholes. And we also give to pastors, we give them water. So that's the situation. But people cannot eat water, they need food on the table as well.
Yeah.
So that's what we do.
I'm Dean Singo, Tembikosi Singo, born in Mat South, Gwanda, near Manama. I'm a family man with 2 kids. I lead a church, the Northern Deanery, part of the Western Diocese. Our church is divided into 3 dioceses. So I lead from Vic Falls to Stanmore. However, the diocese stretches from Magagabole, that is Bible Reach, up to Vic Falls, with about 24 stations, that is 24 full-time employed pastors mining those parishes. Yes.
Yeah, that's quite a vast area. Can you just give us an overview of the COVID-19 impact, particularly on the church, on the pastors, their families, and also on the communities around?
Thank you. We are we are not yet stable, although the lockdown has been uplifted. Actually, the pandemic has left us in a devastating state, should I say, and in a sorrow state as a church, because during the lockdowns, people or Christians did not go to church. That affected our only source of income through givings and also through offerings. That actually crippled especially the church, the day-to-day running of the church, as well as the income for those pastors mining those local churches. To extend the negative impact of the pandemic, even Christians themselves, because of the lockdown, it meant that they could not access, should it be their food handouts from their kids who are outside the country. So that actually led the church to be found wanting. And the church was found without maybe some means to even assist those Christians because of this lockdown. I should hasten to say that a lot of Christians are in a difficult state because of this lockdown, especially in terms of food. Our Christians are, the majority of our parishes are in the far southern part of the country, the rural areas, about 17 parishes, where there is no water, where there is no food, where the drought is also at its highest peak. Because of that, even though we are open as a church today, but because of the severe drought, Christians are not giving, are not contributing as they normally do to the church. Meaning the families of the pastors and even the membership itself is severely affected. Yes.
Well, that's a very bleak kind of situation. Would you see any signs of hope? At least 1 or 2 somewhere?
Our hope perhaps is with the donor community, especially during dry seasons like this. We hope maybe we'll have donors who will think of those affected communities, so that maybe the morale and also their normal activities as communities could also be revamped. Yes, because of now, since I did allude to the fact that we were affected as a church, normally we have our wing, the Lutheran Development Service, which normally chips in to assist the church. However, it is a registered NGO operating perhaps outside our areas of domain. Therefore, it's very difficult for them to come in and assist us at this moment. So we have to wait for those donors who operate within our borders. Should I say? Yeah.
My name is Reverend Mtutu Ziskali. I'm a pastor at Kronos International Ministries, which is based here in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe. This year, 2020, has been the most difficult year in my life as well as in all my years in ministry due to the outbreak of the coronavirus. I have had challenges with my health. I've been diagnosed with kidney problems. So dating from March up to October this day, I have been on medication for my kidneys. My wife as well has been having challenges with her health. She has been on medication. She was diagnosed with pulmonary embolism as well as anemia, so she has been on medication as well as underwent a blood transfusion in September 2020. So due to the financial situation, I could not work due to this coronavirus and do any work in ministry. There hasn't been any income coming in, but the health challenges and the bills have been surmounting, and as such I found myself in a lot of debt, trying to get medical